Hey everybody, we just have a couple more minutes before noon, so I'm just going to give everybody an opportunity to show up. Glad to see you made it, Kelly. Good job. Welcome, Rhonda.
Hello.
Hi, Stephanie.
Sorry, we're driving to the airport right now to pick up my sister, so I figure I can at least listen.
You can. Very good. Very good. We're just going to wait another minute or so, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. We'll see who ends up showing up and being here with us. So, hi, Grayson.
Say hi to Miss Marianne. And everyone else. Oh, there are others. I'll mute myself. Sorry.
No worries. No worries. Cool. See, can you see, guys? It looks like we're starting to develop into our Hollywood squares. You have to put it on, what is it called? Gallery view. Yeah, it's called gallery view. And then we can all look like, you guys remember Hollywood squares, right? Maybe Stephanie doesn't. She's younger than us, but
I actually do. My mom loved game shows. So
there you go. There you go. Hi, Martha. Welcome. All right, I'm just going to unmute everyone, okay? I'm going to do that here because I want you all just to be able just to say hi and tell us where you're from. I'm unmuting you too, Rhonda. If I can't unmute, you're going to have to unmute yourself. So I just want to see where everyone's from. So this is Marianne right here, and I'm here from New Jersey. How about Kelly, where are you from?
Michigan.
Michigan, very good. And Martha?
Hi, it's Martha from New Jersey.
Hey. Rhonda, how about you?
I'm from Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, very good. And Stephanie?
I am in North Dakota.
So we are all over the country already. So it's exciting because even though we're all over the country, we're kind of all in this together, and by this, I mean this social distancing that we're all experiencing, not just us, but on the whole globe. So I'm gonna mute you all. Yeah. Hi, Allie. Welcome. I have some ability to mute everyone. I need to figure out how to do that all at once. There you go. All right, cool. Hi, Allie. I think you're actually oh, here's how I mute all. Yes, thank you. Okay, good. Okay, I think I'm the only one that's unmuted. If you can hear me, can you just wave so I can see? Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm glad everyone is here. And so, I wanted to take this opportunity to just connect and feel like maybe we're together, since virtually seems to be the only way that we can do it in our current day. So I'm, hi Dot, welcome. You're already muted, so I won't be able to hear from you yet, but I look forward to hear from you in a little bit. And the same for you, Allie. And I would love it if I could see you guys. Part of the Hollywood Squares fun is that we can see everybody. There you go. Thanks, Kelly. Thanks for coming back. Cool. So, so I wanted to check in and see how everybody's doing home and isolating. And, I did a little survey in the group to see who's actually staying home with horses and who actually lives away from their horses. Because I know that locally, there are barns who are allotting special times for people to come, so there can be social distancing and limiting hours as well. So you get like your hour, and then if you don't show up for your whole hour, that you only get what you get. So if you're time is 12 to 1 and you don't show up, you don't get to stay till 2. So that makes it kind of hard. But hopefully if we all do the right thing, it won't take forever. So I want to, and this is something I always tell people in For the Love of Horses, is how truly grateful I am for this ability to communicate like this. We only have people from the United States here today, but there are times when we have people from other parts of the world, and that we can actually see each other and we can all be here on my little computer screen in our little boxes is just not lost on me. And so I'm also aware of how much of a learning curve it is for some of us to be able to get this to happen. And trust me, you're not alone. There have been many who've come before you who realize there's this big learning curve as well. So I honor and applaud whatever it is that it took for you to actually be able to use the technology. And, you know, it's not so unlike horses or horsemanship. You know, once you can have a dry run and figure it out a little bit, it's not as hard as it was the very first time. And I actually call the very first time, or the little tiny beginning, the uncomfortable place of not understanding, or just not understanding yet. And it truly is uncomfortable. It's nice when we know what we're doing and we go in with confidence, but it doesn't typically happen right there in the beginning. So I just want to honor what it took for you guys to get here, and then what it is that it takes to actually be here and to be here on video. So thank you. And I also want to share, I want to share my gratitude for those of us, or those people who are out in the world and helping other people. There are many essential jobs that people are still actually working at and putting themselves in harm's way and not able to stay home. So if that's any of you guys, or if it's any of the people that you love, please just know that there's a plethora of people who are actually appreciative of you. And then lastly, I want to acknowledge that, you know, we come to this Q&A, or this opportunity to be together, this little social gathering, from all different places. And what I mean is emotional places. So some of us are, you know, well, and some of us feel well, and we don't know anyone who is sick, and we don't know anyone who's struggling. But with the millions and millions of people who are actually unemployed currently, there's a lot of people that are struggling, and a lot of horses will suffer because of the struggle that people are actually having. I already know horses who've been rehomed, and fortunately there's a home for them to go to, because their person lost their income and is worried about putting food on the table and can't take care of their horse. So I acknowledge that that's going to be happening, and, you know, be on the lookout for that, you guys, because you won't be alone in that. And if it happens to be any of us, don't be afraid to ask for help. There are many people helping. You know, I've had offers from people who want to donate money. We're doing fine here, so I'm okay. But reach out into the groups, because there are people who are willing to help. And this is whether you need help with your horse, because that's our common connection. But maybe you need help with housing, or you need help with money, and there's the Red Crosses and things that are out there offering lots of help. So, and if you know of any help, post that in the Facebook group, or send me a message, and I'll be happy to compile that information. So I just wanted to just kind of acknowledge where we are. And then I also just want to ask if anybody has anything that you'd like to share. Yeah, how about we do that? How about we go ahead and just feel free to unmute yourself. I think you should be able to do that. If you can't, I'll unmute you if you need help with that. And just share how you are and where you are in your horsemanship and in your well-being, and wherever it is that you are. You guys can choose who's going to go first, unless you want me to pick you.
I can go really quick since Grayson is fairly quiet at the moment.
Hi, Stephanie.
I'm used to our horsemanship chats, so I just really have a gratitude that I want to share right now, and an awesome moment that Miss Bits and I had the other night when we closed on our house, as some of you may have seen on my Facebook. So we're in the process of moving to where I get to bring my horses home, so I'm very grateful for that. Hang on, baby, I cannot right now. I'm sorry, I can't get that off while I'm driving.
Right.
But we had a moment where I hadn't been out in a couple days because I've just been crazy with moving, and went out, and it was just so awesome. She just like ran up to me and just stopped at this perfect distance and waited for me to come and just give her this big hug. And then we walked off together, and I had an open top bucket of grain, and she just walked right next to me. We went out the gate together. She went over to see the other horses, and when I started moving off, it was like she was just, oh, hey, Mom, you're moving now. And she came up and met me, and she was like, I don't know, she was energetic, so she wanted to trot. And I was like, cool, let's trot. And so we started trotting together, and I wanted to go a little bit to the left, and she was on my left, and I like barely shifted my hips and started looking that way, and she just turned and went right with me, and it was the coolest thing. Like, so exciting. So that's my little gratitude moment.
I love it. And I know how far you've come. That is huge. That is leaps and bounds from where you were. That is extraordinary. I love it, love it, love it. Very good. Just that she came running. She kept her distance. She acknowledged that there was food in the happening, but didn't decide she needed to go take it, so she didn't. And then I understand what it's like when you actually want them to, you know, move away, but still stay connected. So you being on the right, turning left, her turning left, you know, that's not an easy thing. So those of you who are struggling with that currently know that it just takes practice and practice and practice. Just keep sharing your mental pictures, keep supporting your ideas, and before you know it, that's what's going to happen. Super, super.
I realized on that note too, the biggest change has been that my mental pictures are coming naturally now. I know what I want, and it's like that change in me has made it so much easier for them to connect and get on board with what I'm going for. It's been so cool, and thank you so much, Marianne, because that would never have happened without you.
You're totally my pleasure. You're absolutely welcome. But that's so true, because at first, you know, when we start to share our clear mental pictures with our horses, it's not so clear, right? We're not really sure what we actually want because we're so conditioned to get certain things or know what our horse is going to do because they're so good at sharing their pictures with us. And then all of a sudden we just fall in line with what they want. So I promise you, it takes a little while, but once you practice and practice and practice, you know, it might take for some people, clarity comes really quickly. And for some people, it takes some time. So I don't want you to compare yourself with others. But for Stephanie, has it been a year and a half, maybe? You know? How long has it been for you, Stephanie?
My date circled on the calendar, our phone conversation was December 27th of 2018. So I started the course January, February, March of 2019.
So it's been then a year since you completed, because we're at the end of March. So yeah, and some of you might be coming from a place like where Stephanie came from, and that is a place of the natural horsemanship genre, where it's pretty much dominance and hierarchy. Stephanie, I'm going to go ahead and thank you, because it was a little noisy. Very good. The dominance and hierarchy idea. And I'm actually going to talk about that with you guys today. That's going to actually be our topic of learning while we're here on this call today. It's actually herd dynamics, herd health, herd behavior, understanding the herd mentality, understanding what it means to be a herd animal. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But who else would like to check in? Who would like to go next? Are you raising your hand, Callie?
I just had an itch, but I guess I can go.
Girl, you go next.
So I think I'm about to start my second or third month of the program. It's been a little slow going the last couple weeks, but I did get out for a really good night, and Marianne went over some videos with me, and I'm excited to get back out because I think my sessions are going to start going a lot differently now after looking at some video and seeing how things I was doing that I could do different. So I'm just excited to get a chance to go again, and looking at a positive of being home more, I think I'll get to. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and you know, it's a really good point for those of us who are lucky enough to live with our horses or near our horses. It really is a super distraction. It's a healthy distraction. And how often do we get to dedicate, I mean, what potentially could be months to our horsemanship? You know, there's so many other things that we need to do and we need to manage and we need to take care of. But when all of that has been put on hold for us, how interesting is it that we are the fortunate ones who get to spend time in the company of horses, and we actually do get to take some ground on our horsemanship. So really, really super cool. And I'm excited too. I'm excited too for you, Callie, just because we had our so each Thursday night in For the Love of Horses, for those of you who know or don't know about my online coaching program, every Thursday night we have a live Q&A just like this one. And so last night was our Q&A, and Callie got to share some video that was really super helpful, because when you can share video, and I hope there might be some of you who have video to share today, when you can share video, it's almost like you can sit in your seat in your chair at home and you can watch what's happening on that video screen, and it, to some degree, becomes less personal. Doesn't become like, oh, I'm watching myself on video. It's like all of you can watch that person on video, and then you can start to get that perspective of watching that person on video and not necessarily having it only be about you. Because I admit it's hard sometimes to watch yourself on video, especially when you're in that, again, I'm going to go back to that little tiny beginning of a concept or a subject where there's this uncomfortable place of not understanding yet, or there's this uncomfortable place of misunderstanding, you know, where, oh, I thought that's what it was, but now I see it's something else. So there's that. And then there's also that place of, oh, I know what I want and I can't get it through to my horse, you know, so that's not quite understanding yet. And that happens for us. But it also happens for our horses, especially and this is really common, just so you guys know, like, because if you know me at all, one of the things I'm really big on is walking with your horse. You being in the riding area, meaning on the ground next to your horse, and having your horse walk next to you. I'm just really big on that. It's what horses do with each other. It's how horses build relationship. It's how we can build relationship without dominance, without being on top where we have leverage. And leverage typically meaning some sort of apparatus on their face or in their mouth, and we have literally all of the leverage. Where on the ground, there's a little more of an even playing field. And, you know, it takes more from us to be able to walk with our horse on one side and have the other side be free to do whatever it wants. Like if you're riding with reins, you have all this control over two sides of your horse. So it's a very different dynamic, and it builds a different relationship. So one of the things, you know, about walking on one side of your horse and walking together with them and having them not cut you off like you're walking, and having them not cut off your projected path, or having them literally run around you in circles. Sometimes that needs to be supported by a wall or a fence line or something next to you. So if you've got a wall or a fence line, then your horse can't run around you. You're just going to be learning to go forward and creating your projected path. So there's a million ways to help your horse have an understanding of that little tiny beginning concept, where he's sure this is a bad idea because I'm never allowed to walk in front of you. Like, do any of you have that rule where your horse must always walk behind you? It's really, really a common rule in the horsemanship world. People always go first. Horses always have to stay behind. So if you've created that rule and you've enforced it over the course of, you know, maybe decades, and if you didn't do it, maybe someone who came before you did, taught your horse that with all the diligence in the world, and your horse is doing his very best to do the right thing and be the best horse he can possibly be. And now we're changing the conversation. We're saying, you know, listen, I used to want you to walk back there. Now I want you to come up here and walk next to me. So you can see that just like trying to figure out technology or anything new that we don't understand, like most of us don't understand how to stay home. Most of us don't understand that. You know, we are a mobile being, you know. I mean, I myself have at least a couple of cars and plus a half a dozen horses. So I am a mobile being, you know, and so trying to be in a way that we've not been before can cause us to be uncomfortable in a number of ways. Is that making sense for you guys? Are you following like the connection of the horse and the human, and how what I say, and you'll hear me say this again, and I've said it before, how everything really is everything else, you know, like, because it really is all about how we relate, or our relationship to the thing. So to a global pandemic, our relationship to staying home, our relationship to learning something new, our relationship to being uncomfortable, you know, so it's how we relate to it. So when I talk with you guys in a little bit about herd dynamics, we're going to talk a lot about that relationship, how horses relate to one another, how we relate to them, and how they relate to the world, and how we relate to the world. And truthfully, and if you know me at all, I am not suggesting that my way is the right way or it's the only way. What I am doing is offering you a new perspective, because ultimately you and your horse, you're it. Your horse picked you, or you picked your horse, and you guys have to work it out. It has to be between you. My goal is just to give you ideas about my ideas, like what I think, like I talk, and this was part of why I wanted us to all be together here. So we could truly have that two-way street of communication, right? So it's not just me talking at you, but it's also you being able to share, and we all get to see each other in our Hollywood squares. But it's the same way with our horses. You know, it's not a listen, I'm the leader and you're the follower all the time. It's not a dominance and hierarchy thing. It's not a top down. It isn't that at all. Now, having said that, I am a fragile human, and you do need to be careful of me. It can be very dangerous for a human in the company of a horse. You know, so it's our job to instill that you need to be careful of me. And instead of saying you need to walk behind me all the time, what I say is be careful of me wherever you are. And that allows a whole range of communication to happen, rather than having a rule in place that says you need to always walk behind me. That's the rule. And you know, if you've had that rule, it takes something to enforce that and really to prove to your horse that you mean it. But now I'm going to ask you actually just to do something different and say, it used to be that way, but now I want you to come and walk next to me. And I still want you to be careful of me. And I still don't want you to step on me. If you spook, I still want you to spook in a way that's safe for you to do that, and a way that's safe for me to do that. So if you built that conversation one time around a rule, you can change it. It might be uncomfortable for you to get that in your mind, and it might be uncomfortable for you to help your horse understand that. But if you're committed, it will happen. The only way it won't happen is if you quit. If you don't, you know, travel through the uncomfortable place. And that brings us kind of back to our global pandemic. You know, if we can just take this time and do what we need to do, we'll get through this. But if we become impatient and we say, you know what, I'm fine, I'm going to go out anyway. I'm going to go here or there or wherever. I'm going to have a play date with the kids, or I'm going to, you know, I'm going to invite my family over for dinner. Like if we start to do that, right, then we won't get the result that we're looking for. At least that's what I'm not a health professional, but that's what they say. So staying in it over time is what's going to help us. So staying in these conversations with our horses over time is what's going to help us. That's what's going to prove to our horses that we really did mean what we say. And then it's also going to help us to get our pictures clearer and convey that to our horses. Is that making sense, you guys? Okay, good. I see some heads nodding. Thank you. All right. Who's going to share next? Martha, how about you? You want me to unmute you? Let me see. I can unmute you. I think since, there you go. I think you, I see your lips moving. Hold on. Let me try again. Let me try over here. Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Perfect. Hi.
Hi, how are you? Hello, everybody.
Good.
This was a great idea. Thank you, Marianne, so much for doing this. I think
I'm excited about it too.
yeah, a lot of us feel a little isolated, even though so busy with the barn. So I have a small boarding barn. I have 8 horses. My husband and I are taking care of right now. So we have chosen to close, which is very difficult for the boarders. And I can't imagine not having the horses to go out and visit. So I'm sure that's very hard for them. Before the major closing, we did have blocks of time that people could come, and then just learned that the people coming were not socially isolating. And my husband and I were a little uncomfortable having people at the barn like that. So we have closed. The other thing that I'm finding difficult, well, I'm feeling very responsible for everybody's horse. That normally they're visiting, so they're on top of it. So I feel very responsible and sad for some of them. I can tell that they're missing their people and giving them extra attention, trying to. But what I'm struggling with now is I have my own horses in rehab. I think I mentioned to you. And he had surgery the end of January and is not allowed to trot until June.
What kind of surgery?
He had stifle surgery, had 2 meniscus tears and a cruciate ligament tear.
Ow.
Yeah.
That hurt.
Pretty bad. So we did the surgery, we did stem cell therapy, and he's actually doing really well. Even though he's on stall rest, we have runouts and a dry lot attached to his stall. So he has a lot of room to move around, actually. But he's 9 years old, he's a thoroughbred, he's having a lot of difficulty just walking. So at this point, I am allowed to walk with him under saddle. As a matter of fact, the surgeon wants me to do that because he will use himself differently than hand walking. So we do a combination. I've been hand walking him since January and now walking him under saddle. It's extremely difficult to get him to just walk. So as much as I picture it, we have conversations about it, we sing about it, we do everything I can come up with my horrible voice. To just let him walk, a lot of breathing, sometimes I just wrap my arms around his neck while I'm on him to just try to, both of us settle into a walk. And it's virtually impossible. He wants to move, he feels spring, and he just wants to move. So everyone, including both my vet and his surgeon, feels that it's extremely important that he does not break into a trot until June. So they want me to drug him.
Well, do you use any kind of supplements? Like there's a lovely Rest Easy Gold from Hilton Herbs. It's a lovely combination of herbs for horses who need to physically be resting. I used it when Sterling fractured his coffin bone, and it made a giant difference. There is a loading dose, so it takes a little bit of time, but it made a massive difference for him. And I've heard of other horses who have needed help, being calm, not necessarily drugging him, but just herbs that support a calm movement, especially when you need to start hand walking. I believe there's a 7-day loading dose, so it takes a little bit of time.
Rest Easy?
It's called Rest Easy Gold by Hilton Herbs.
Thank you.
Yeah, Hilton Herbs is a cool herbal company in England.
Okay.
And they have, when you go to their site, they have lots of cool stuff.
Okay.
But it's a liquid, and I would get a few of them, you know. And for us, it's something we do keep on hand in case it's something, you know, in case there's some reason why a horse needs to, you know, be calm for a longer period of time, not, you know, not just a day or two, but some sort of actual rest.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then to Martha, I continue to encourage you to what I'm picturing and what I imagine, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, is if he wants to go faster than you want him to go, you're essentially pulling on him quite a lot.
Actually, I'm trying not to because that doesn't work.
Right, I'm sure you're trying not to, but how are you getting him to walk? Because you can't do circles, I'm sure you can't go sideways or do bending.
Exactly.
There's a lot of straightness is what you
I
need.
sit back and deep, and I take all my leg off, and I sing.
Yeah, and
I do.
yeah. You know, you have so many fence lines.
Mm-hmm.
I would, so let me make this suggestion, because I have been thinking about this since you asked something about this on the last Q&A we had. And I was thinking that what if, since you're home, and not that you don't have anything to do, but since you're home, what if, you know, the first part of the day you took him and you walked him maybe in the indoor.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe in 2 hours, you took him and you walked him around the outdoor.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe in 2 hours, you took him for a walk down a fence line.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe in 2 hours, you tack him up and walk him again.
Okay.
And then maybe in 2 hours, you tack him up and get on and ride him wherever you've already walked him.
What a good idea. Mm-hmm.
So it's just little bits often. And since you're home, this is a beautiful time to be able to do that. And you'll also then be working on his mental ability, because that's the other thing. You know, I know when Sterling was on stall rest, you know, and he came out of the barn, like he hadn't felt wind in 3 months. Yeah. You know, he didn't have sunshine on him in 3 months. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, so, you know, it was hard. You know, it was emotional for him, you know. While he got to look out his window, now he could be outside where the other horses were. So you want to work on his mental piece, his emotional piece, and also his physical piece.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's great advice. I'm going to try that. Thanks.
And keep us posted about that. Let us know how it goes. My goal is that we are able, over the course of however long this takes, this pandemic, meaning, you know, what we're all dealing with, that we can do this on a regular basis, you know, just to check in with one another, see each other, share our whatever we need, share our stories, get some new perspective about things. You know, and I promise you, Martha, you're not the only one here who will ever have a horse on stall rest who's having the same issue as you. So it's, you know, and, you know, like you guys, you know, the way that the brain works, right, is information comes to us all the time. And some of it sticks and some of it doesn't, but it does all go in. If you see it, hear it, smell it, feel it, do it, talk about it, write about it, sing about it, whatever it is, all the ways that you can incorporate learning into yourself goes in there, and it stays in there and it gets filed away. So sometimes later on down the line, you know, you might remember, what was that thing I heard? And you won't remember that you heard it here, but it'll be in there and it will help you. So that's also why I say you want to guard your learning. You know, you want to guard what you watch, what you listen to, what you practice, because it will influence you. It will go in there and it will stay in there. Mm-hmm. And it will come out unless you're on guard. And Callie, this is a bit what we were talking about last night, you guys. So I, in For the Love of Horses, my 3-month online coaching program, one of the recommended reading material is an old book, as old as time, and it's a mindset book, and it's called Think and Grow Rich. And in that book, they talk extensively about how this information goes in and how it stays in our minds, and it comes to us in times when we didn't expect it to, and to get rid of that information. So to stop practicing dominance, horsemanship, it's not easy, you know, because it becomes automatic once we understand it, especially if you get really good at it, you know. So you, like, people don't even realize, you know, what they're doing. So that's why video is so good because when you start to be able to watch that person on the video, you can say, wow, I didn't even realize I do that, you know. So it's a super valuable giant tool. But to what we need to do to replace what's in there that we don't want is we need to overseed it. And they use the analogy of like a garden, where you need to, like, if you were seeding your lawn and you wanted to get rid of the weeds, you would overseed it with the things that you want. Then you would water it, and you'd make sure you are shining light on it. You know, it's not like you can't just put the seed out there and then forget it. The birds will eat it. It'll be gone. You know, like there'll be no, you have to cultivate it. You have to continue to water it so it grows. So any new learning is like that. So just, you know, just know, like, it needs your attention all the time.
Very good point. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Martha. I think I'm going to try to, I'm muting you. And I'm going right underneath you to Allie. Allie, I'm unmuting you. Allie, what are you doing over there? You've got like goats and dogs, and what's happening?
Goats, dogs, and my horses are down below, but
Awesome. Allie, where in the world are you?
I'm in California.
Oh, lovely. Lovely.
I know, and it's been raining for like 3 days straight, and it's sunny today, but it's muddy out here.
Yeah, yeah.
Looking all over the place.
Yeah, yeah. Welcome to spring. How are you faring? California was one of those early adopters of the isolating practice.
Yeah, for us, it's not a big change. I homeschool my kids, and we live in a really small, tiny community. So we don't have like lots of places to go.
Right.
And so we are kind of isolated anyway, I feel like. If we do go somewhere, it's a big day. Like, we have to plan, we feed all the animals for the whole day, and we're gone the whole day. And so we don't do it very often anyway.
Yeah.
But my husband's a police officer, so he is going to work, and we have to take precautions because he is in the public. Yeah. So that's my only like real big concern.
Yeah. 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 So it's not too big of a shift for you, except does he take his clothes off outside and stuff, like before he
yeah.
comes in? And, yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm like, do not come in here. He keeps all that at the office and has like his home clothes that he changes into, and then even still, I'm kind of like, you should take a shower, you know, like right when you get home.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I heard, and you know, we don't know really what's true, I guess, but I did hear that the virus can live on your clothes and in your hair.
Oh, I know.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. So yeah, sounds like a good idea, Allie.
Yeah, we try to be, you know, healthy people and try to eat healthy, and we take our vitamins, and I'm not really like, we're not compromised in any way, but we're just staying away from our grandparents, and that's hard. And I kind of do feel like now that we can't go anywhere, I want to go somewhere.
It's true. It's so true.
We never go anywhere anyway, but now I'm like, man, I really want to go to the movie theater, which we haven't gone in like a year and a half.
I hear you. I hear you. It's funny how the mind works, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
I remember when there was the whole thing about straws. Like, I never even used a straw. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, I need to have a straw.
Yes. Let's buy all the straws at the grocery store.
I know. Like, yeah, we are funny beings as humans.
Yes. Yes. Humans are not my favorite.
You're not the only one. Although what I learned years ago is that every animal needs a human. You know, in domestication, every animal, like the dogs all need a human, the cats kind of all need a human, the horses all need a human. So with all of them come humans. So I really learned, actually, I'll tell you a little tiny little short story, and that is, I used to say that. I was like, oh, I love horses, I just hate people. You know, they're so much easier, you know. And, you know, it's kind of a weird thing, you know, given I'm a people, you know, like how can you, you know, be that way? But I actually started doing personal development work at Landmark Education, which is a global education corporation, if any of you know anything about it. But what is studied there is what is common to all human beings. And when I realized, and this is part of why I say everything really is everything else, because when I realized, you know, it was my relationship to what was happening with the humans. It was how I related to what was happening with the humans that had me form my ideas. And so when I started to relate differently, I really fell in love with people. And then over the course of time, so back in 2006, after I finished horsemanship school, I came home and I started my company called In the Company of Horses. And from there, In the Company of Horses provides equine assisted growth and learning experiences for people. And so over the course of time, I've had just thousands and thousands and thousands of people come through my arena. And that has really helped me fall in love with people. Watching people in situations that are really uncomfortable for them, doing the best they can, and actually having results with my horses that I couldn't get. An educated, you know, horsemanship school graduate, I couldn't get these results, and other people were. And so that also gave me the perspective of, I don't know what's going on between you and your horse. Like, so I get annoyed with horsemanship trainers who say, let me tell you what your horse is thinking. Let me tell you what's going on for your horse. Because the truth is, we don't know.
Right.
You know, the only one who knows what's going on between you and your horse is you and your horse. And I saw that with the thousands and thousands of people who interacted with my horses. You know, I thought I knew my horses. I thought I knew what was going on with them. And yet there they were doing things that I've never seen them do. So yeah. It's humbling, you know, and it allowed me really to open up to people in a way that, you know, I wasn't before. And yeah. That's not to say that, you know, I don't get annoyed with people.
Exactly. I have kind of a similar experience. I was a leader. I was put in a leadership position at my church, and I had to basically connect people with other people. And it was a huge growth opportunity for me and for other people that was also in leadership. And I gained a lot of perspective, and I do love people, but with my husband's job and like other things influencing me, I used to be a huge extrovert, and now I'm like, I'm happy just being in my home. This whole lockdown thing, I'm happy as a clam, you know? So it's really weird for me because I can relate to both views, and I can see, I kind of have that same, like, I'm super extroverted. I love people. I want to be out. I want to socialize. And then I'm also like, ooh, people are scary. People are mean. People are this, people are that. And I'm going to just stay in here with my animals and be happy. So I definitely have both, like, I'm pulled in two different ways.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, I have my circle of people, and I'm comfortable there. And that's kind of where I am now. Sorry, my goats are getting loud because
I know. they want to participate. It's the nature of goats, isn't it?
They're about to have babies any day.
Oh, well,
So those two that are talking right now, they're very pregnant.
they're probably in labor. They're like, help.
I think one of them is in early labor. She's the one crying at me right now. She's looking at me like, come on, woman, give me my treats and rub my belly. Huh.
Well, we look forward to seeing pictures of them when they have their kids.
Yes. Whoa, goat's hitting me in the back here.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. I think she might be in labor right now. Early labor.
that's what's going on with her. She's like, gee.
Yeah.
All right, Allie, thanks for sharing with us. Thanks for being here. And in a little bit, if you have any questions, I'll.
Oh, I actually have a question
Go ahead.
that kind of related to what you were talking about with walking with your horses.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So my horse Wesley, he is a rescue horse. I got him after losing two of my most precious horses that I grew up with, and I thought I was gonna quit horses altogether. And Wesley just kind of popped into my lap, and it's a long story, but he was really sick. He had strangles or strep zoo, or it wasn't as bad as strangles, but it basically, I had to take care of his abscess injury. And he was terrified of me. Super spooky horse. We're getting way better at communicating, and he now when he does spook, it's very like, it's a little like, you know, in place kind of spook, because I was like, hey, I'm a very fragile human. You do need to watch out where I am and don't spook in front of me or run me over. And so he's very aware. He's a very sensitive horse. And I've been walking with him, and my question is, when I walk with him, I try to walk like where I would be sitting while riding.
Good.
And I wasn't sure if I was doing that right.
Yeah, anywhere behind the shoulder.
Okay, yeah. And then I kind of have my hand, sometimes I'll put my hand with him, and hold on, I'm gonna try to get my goat happy here. Come on, baby.
Yeah, she's not gonna be happy till after she has that baby or those kids.
I know.
Are. That's how labor works.
She's so huge. I don't know if you can see her. Oh no, I know. So when I am walking with him, we were walking past this horse that we always walk past, and there's a lot going on right now.
It's okay.
And, the horse that we always walk past is very high energy, and that transfers to my horse in a really fast way. And so we've been pretty successful, but what he does is this horse will run up the fence line, and Wesley leaves me. He wants to run too, and he hits the end of that lead rope and turns around, and I just say, you left me. I would have fallen off if I was on your
Right.
back. So I'm just trying to work with those other horses that you know, don't have a rider or that are in the pastures. Like I'm just not quite sure how I need to I just kind of start over too, and we just hang out there until the other horse gets bored. And then and I don't know if that's the right thing.
Well,
it takes a long time. We don't even get like, you know, we're still like just next door basically.
yeah, that's okay. However long it takes is however long it takes. Because if you just blow through that, you're just going to have more of it as you keep going. So there's kind of no point. And so I like what you're doing. And when I talk with you guys in a little bit just about the nature of the herd and herd dynamics, that may shed a little bit of light on it. But what I recommend is really what you're doing is really be the change that you want to see, and then have him understand that who you are is this calm being, and you know that and being calm is good. But it's almost something like what Stephanie was saying about how her horse offered this idea of trotting, and she was like, yeah, me too, I want to do that too, what a good idea. And so you might consider that there's places where the two of you can do that, you know, and that he can also have, you know, there's a difference between speed and energy. You know, he
Yes.
can bring up his life and his energy. He just doesn't have to, you know, go 10,000 miles an hour. You know, he can have, I mean, some of the most beautiful horsemanship we see is a passage or a piaffe where there's this ton of energy. There's just no speed,
Right.
right? Where they're not going forward really fast, but they have all, especially like Sterling does that sort of thing, you know, in the pasture, you know, he will just float around and you can see every muscle in his body. It's the most extraordinary thing. And yet he's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, it's just all happening right here. So if you can maybe start conveying those ideas to him, like, yeah, you can bring up your energy, just don't leave. Like you said, like, don't leave me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's stick together, and then make sure that there's times when you do want to go with him. And that's where I'm not a big fan of circles, but that is where circles can come in. And here's why I say I'm not a big fan of circles. Like, I don't want small circles necessarily. If you're going to have circles, make them big, you know. And there's I posted today, I took a video yesterday when I was feeding Sterling. And it's a video, we were just playing around while he was eating. But you'll see in the video where I ask him to come with me, right? And I ask him to come and take a walk with me. Or to come with me, and we're going in circles, and he wants to come and get real close, and he's pretty spectacular, like he's, you know, he's real close to me, and I'll say to him, move out, I want you to go out, move away, move further away, and he does, and he makes a bigger circle, because I want that energy, I want that excitement, I just don't want it necessarily right here next to me all the time. You know, I want you to go over there and have that energy. So,
Yeah.
you know, once you understand that, you can have that nuance when you can say, head go over there, haunches go over there, belly go over there, or lift or come up under yourself, all, you know, at liberty, and all just with clear communication, clear and easy communication. When you know that, like we were talking about in Think and Grow Rich, when your mindset, when that's what it offers you, your horse will hear it. He will say, yes. That looks like a good idea. I can definitely do that, because that's the nature of the herd animal. They want to be together, which is why he wants to go with them. He wants to run and cavort and do what horses do, horseplay, right?
Right.
So you just have to make sure there's an outlet for that.
Right.
It can't always just be quiet. You know, there has to be an outlet for that when you have a healthy horse.
Yeah. Yeah. I do try to play with him myself. And like when he's loose, and all, like my mini horse, she is really playful. And so she will run with me, and I try to do like liberty stuff with them, and like, you know, little obstacles and walk over this, and Wesley was so serious to me, and I'm trying to get him to be a little bit more playful with me and see me as that kind of like, she can be playful, she can be calm, and she's not mean, you know, because I think his history is probably most likely beating him into submission or whatever. And he was a stallion too.
Every gelding was.
Well, yeah, that's true. Except for he was gelded right when I got him. And so that was interesting for me, because I've only had mares. I've never even had a gelding before.
No, you probably had a lot more going for you than you imagined.
Oh yeah, I've learned so much in this last year. Like, it's bizarre. It's crazy. And he's teaching me everything. And I'm teaching him too, because he's so much more relaxed, and you know, things are going good. Things are going really good.
What kind of horse is he?
I don't know. I think he's a quarter horse, but I really have no history on him. So he's smaller than my other quarter horses, very compact looking. He almost looks like a Mustang to me. He's got this like crazy long mane and tail, super thick. I can walk down there too, so you can see him.
Oh, that's cool. Awesome. Nothing like getting the horses on the Hollywood squares.
They're just so muddy right now. It's just such a muddy. I had to feed them on the ground at the top part, because everywhere down here is like a mud, sticky
Yeah.
it's just bad.
Yeah. Soon you'll have a drought. No worries.
Exactly. Like, that's exactly what's wrong is like the ground doesn't soak anything up
Yeah.
because it's used to being in a drought.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. Yeah. It's hard. The weather is challenging.
Yeah.
Cool.
Especially here. It can't decide what it wants to be. It'll be cold and then hot, like 80 degrees the next day.
Yeah. We've had a little bit of weather like that too. You know, yeah. It's been challenging. Ah, there's a pony.
He's scared of my phone.
He's
Hey,
camera.
Wesley.
Oh, there.
I wonder if I can't tell what I'm pointing at.
No, but I can see him. We can see him. He's right there over your shoulder. That's perfect photo. Stephanie's trying to see and she's driving.
What do you think?
Awesome.
So he's very, like, he's much shorter than my other horses. He's got a nice short back. So none of my saddles fit or you know, he's just different. He's just different.
Super cool. Thanks for sharing him with us. Hi, Wesley. He's like, I'm just eating my hay. Stop taking my picture.
Yeah, he's very, whenever I get my phone out, he's like, what are you trying to do to me? But this one, she loves the phone.
Oh, ponies are great. Hi, pony. Ponies are great.
He's been really good. She was really sad when her mama died, basically. It was my horse that I had for 10 years, my first horse. And so we both kind of went through like that loss really hard. And I don't, you know, her and Wesley like don't have that same relationship. It's really interesting. I know she appreciates having a horse again, but because she lived with the goats and she got really fat because she bossed the goats around and ate all the food.
Mm-hmm.
But now she's I don't know, her and my mare, they were like, they would lay down and like she would cuddle with my other horse. She'd lay down right next to her, back to back.
You know, that's a good illustration of the nature of the herd animal. It's not just any horse that's good enough. You know, they were bonded, and it's more than just a pair bonding. You know, it's more than just my horse is herd bound or buddy sour. It's like they truly were friends and they truly cared about one another. They truly wanted to be together. And that is truly the nature of a herd animal. Like in the wild, herd animals stay together based on want to. You know, if a band stallion in the wild is not nice and does not have a close band of mares, he won't be able to keep them together. They will be disbanded. They will go where they want to be. They will go with other bands. And that's the exact reason why, because, you know, not just any horse will do. And that's why when we manufacture herds, like we do in, you know, like we do in domestication, what can happen is exactly what's happening with your pony. Well, great, you know, he's a horse and that's fine. And they're goats and that's fine. But I miss my friend. And they do mourn the loss of their friends, you know, like we do. I have had those experiences where I have witnessed my herd mourning the loss of their friend. I have witnessed some of my herd mates when they haven't seen a horse that used to live with us in a long time act just like old college buddies. You know, like they don't get that excited about every horse.
Yeah.
So it's a really good point, you know. And so sometimes we own horses and we have to board because we don't have a place to keep them. And we don't like this boarding facility because I don't like that person, you know, or I don't like this boarding facility because I don't like the hours that they keep, or I don't like this boarding facility because, you know, the barn owner, you know, I don't like the way they do this, that, or the other thing. And the truth is, it's our horse that's moving. You know, it's our horse that's leaving any maybe new friends they made, now moving to a new barn. Like, sure, you're going home every night. You know, it's your horse that's living there. You know, so people who move barns a lot, you know, I have a lot of empathy for those horses because they pair bond, they become friends, and they want to stay together, and then they're just taken. You know, I can't tell you how often I have people who want me to help them with trailer loading because they have to move their horse. And they'll say to me, well, he just walked right on to get here and now he won't leave. You know, it's more than the trailer. You know, it is more than that. And I believe it is, you know, the idea of not wanting to leave friends or not wanting to leave comfort or safety or friendship or what becomes family.
Yeah, I definitely think my mare Sugar was her family, and it was really hard because Cookie, my pony, she was only 8 months when we got her, and so she kind of, my mare taught her how to be a horse, you know, in that sense that she was a baby, and she taught her all these lessons of being a horse.
Yep.
And when we lost her, we had to, you know, she broke her leg, and on the 4th of July, we had some people shooting fireworks and, you know, running around here in the middle of the night. And I don't know if that was it or what, but she was a 33-year-old mare.
Oh.
So she was really old, but I was still riding her and everything. She was in great shape. But yeah, it was just really hard. And I think I expected Cookie to bond with Wesley in the same sort of way, I guess. I didn't really realize what they had until it was gone. And
I love that you said that, because I think that we don't always know what we're seeing.
Right.
You know, we're observing stuff, but sometimes what we're observing is only what's in our subconscious mind. We can't even see what there is to actually see. I have a really great example of this. I have a pony, and she looks like an Appaloosa, her whole head, her ears, and about halfway down her mane. Like the top part of her mane is real scruffy and short, like Appaloosas can be, you know, like with little short hair and stuff. Her face is all freckled. From mid-mane all the way back, she is a paint. So she has a long flowing white mane. You know, it goes from this stubbly brown stuff to this long flowing white stuff. She has a long flowing gorgeous tail. You know, she has a spot, you know, a two-colored body, you know, no spots anywhere behind that piece of her mane. So I have this pony, and I had this pony for years. And someone said to me one day, well, it looks like you have a half Appaloosa, half paint. And I literally never saw that.
Yeah.
I look at this horse every day. I'm always wondering about, and I never saw that. Like, we can't always see what's in front of our face. We can't always see what there is to see.
Right.
You know? And that's why one of the very first things we do in For the Love of Horses is we work on eye training. We work on trying to be just with the facts. And that's like one of the reasons why, like, that happened to me. And I was like, how did I not see that? I love this pony. I'm with this pony every single day. Mm-hmm. And I didn't see that, you know? So because that wasn't the information that my subconscious mind was offering up when I asked it questions, you know, we can only see what there is to see.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it's a good point you make.
Yeah.
Super cool. Very cool. Well, thanks for sharing, Allie. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I look forward to seeing the kids once they're on this side of the grass.
Yeah,
you know?
I'll share them in the group.
Perfect. We'll have feet on the ground. I love it. Super cool. All right, Allie, I'm going to go ahead and mute you.
Okay, thanks.
See you later. And so I have Lila or Lily or Dot. You guys can unmute yourself if either one of you want to share. I know Lila was here with video and she's gone somewhere. I'm going to see if you guys are here. How about you, Dot? Are you there? Would you like to?
Hi.
Hi.
I
Welcome.
really don't have anything to share today.
Say that again.
This is my first time really following you. I've never been on one of your webinars, so I'm enjoying listening to it and hearing everybody else's feedback.
Oh, super cool. Dot, where in the world are you?
I am in Greenville, Georgia.
Greenville, Georgia. Okay, cool. So we have the South represented. And do you have your own horse?
I do. I have 5. I am a past Pirelli. I still do Pirelli.
Okay. Well,
for
once
about
Pirelli, always
15.
Pirelli. Even if you say
That's
it's not, it's in
right.
there. It's okay.
Absolutely, yeah. So I've been doing natural horsemanship for about 15 years.
Okay. All right. So don't be offended today when I talk about that.
Oh, absolutely not. I'm loving it. And like I said, I'm loving hearing everything that you have to share today.
Awesome. Awesome. And Dot, do you live at home with your horses? Do your horses live with you?
They do. Yes, we all live together. They are my children. I tell people I'm a single parent. And they look at me kind of funny. And I'm like, yeah, all these 4-legged babies, having 5 horses and donkeys and sheep and goats and llamas. I have the menagerie.
Oh, spectacular. Yeah. Well, I
can tell you that natural horsemanship practices and maneuvers and body language works across the board, but it's especially well with llamas.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Call it natural llama-ship.
Yeah, I think there's a program for that, and they use carrot sticks too.
Well, Dot, everything really is everything else. Body language is a universal language, and so it makes sense.
Yes, true.
I fell in love with a book that I read by Linda Kahanov called "The Power of the Herd" a number of years ago. And in that book, she speaks of these water buffalo. I think they're water buffalo. Whatever they are, they're these buffalo type creatures that this tribe somewhere in the world, so a tribe, they have a whole bunch of them. They kind of farm them. And even the young boys, 6 and 7 years old, need to learn how to move them from one place to another and not stampede them so they don't trash the village. And there's no fences. They keep them together by body language, by communication, by the clarity of mental pictures and using energy and throwing energy and manipulating energy, meaning being able to throw it and curve it and cause things to happen. So yeah, I think that it's a universal language, and I think that we call it body language, but I believe it's far more than just body language, because body language is maybe the physical piece, and we see a lot of posturing in horsemanship, a lot of physical posturing, and it's not always backed up with a clear mental picture, or the posturing is not always supporting, I should say, because typically the posturing should come later if you're going to get in any kind of motion. But it's not always supporting a clear mental picture or a clarity in emotion that's being used. It's kind of just the posture means this, and you'll know what I mean, Doc. When you see this all the time in when there's people who use ropes and sticks, is they'll want the horse. Let's just say they have a rope in one hand and they have a stick in the other, and they'll go like this. They'll go all at one time. And I'm like, wonder, like there's more more body language to it, obviously.
I don't even know what that means
I'm
to
just
do.
right. I'm making fun of people, and it's not fair. They're doing the best they can, and I do know that because I was.
But you're so, and we've all been there at level 1, right? We've all done that posture. But
Yeah.
but you're so absolutely right that to me, I guess it's all about energy. That's really what everything reads is energy from the other energetic being.
Yeah, and and I want to include emotion in there too, because I think emotion
Oh
is like
yeah.
a superpower.
Oh yeah.
What I say
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
yeah, and what I say in For the Love of Horses is like you need to put a cape on it because it's a superpower. Emotion is a superpower. You know, you can escalate anything you want. You know, with emotion.
True.
And you only need to have teenagers to know that. Or I have a 2-year-old that lives with me, a 2-year-old human. And boy, let me just tell you, it's really funny because her mom got her this book, and it's this book where there's cut, you know, like there's a cutout, right? And there's a face, and then you kind of overlay stuff on this face. And the stuff you overlay is emotions, you know, so you're overlaying happy, you're overlaying sad, you're overlaying mad, you're overlaying scared. I think it's a brilliant book. I really love it because now when she shares one of those faces out of reality, I'll say, what is that? Is that your sad face? Oh no, wait, I think it's your mad face. Is it your mad face? And then all of a sudden she's got a happy face because she thinks it's funny. You know, like that is universal. Like when I say everything is everything else, like that you can do with horses too. You can do exactly that same thing that I do with that little girl with horses, just by being willing to be in the conversation and not take it seriously and not take it until like to lighten up a little bit, you know, like to let go of some of the rules and just kind of be in a relationship that's fun and light and easy. You know, it doesn't have to be full of heaviness and rules and you better and dominance and hierarchy and all those things, you know. So I'm glad that you're here. Dot, how are you faring with our social isolation, our social distancing? Are you guys doing okay? Do you have a state mandated rule?
We do, absolutely we do. I am fortunate that I work from home. I'm actually at work right now.
Love your job.
So that's good. But I'm an avid dancer and I'm missing 3 dance classes a week because of social isolation. So I'm forgetting dance steps and what everybody looks like. And like I think maybe Callie or somebody said that we're fine with being home until now we have to be home, and now we want to go out and go to the movies and do things we don't usually do.
Exactly. I feel it. That's exactly how it is. It's really true. I'm missing very much my yoga classes. Like they're doing these free online classes. I haven't done one of them yet. Not one of them.
Yeah. One of my dance class groups is doing that. I'm not doing it either.
No, like I was like you. I could manage to get myself up and drive to the class and participate in the class 3 days a week, but I can't manage to participate from home. You know, so I'm going to. Yeah, I haven't gotten my mind right yet about that, but I'm going to, because I'm starting to not, you know, I'm starting to like not be comfortable. So yeah, I'm working on that. So all right, cool. Well, I'm happy that you're here, Dot. Welcome. All right, Dot, are you in any of the Facebook groups?
I am not. I must have read something of yours many months ago and clicked on something. So I get your emails all the time, and I do kind of read through those. Perfect. Yeah, and that's how I found out about this webinar today. But no, I don't think I'm in any of your groups. I guess I need to look into that. Yeah, I'm glad that you're here. There's look for relationship-based horsemanship, and that's the name of our group on Facebook. And I'm in there a lot. Yeah, I'm in there a lot. I go in there and I do Facebook Lives and I do Q&As, and I just wanted to expand it kind of out to my whole email audience, which is more than like 10,000 people, you guys. And so there's like 7 of us here. So that's I think email is dead. Truly, I think email marketing is dead, except for you, Dot. You are alive.
So thanks for being here. And I'm going to probably, when I share, I have a little teaching I want to share with you guys about the nature of the herd animal. And when I do that, I'm going to definitely bust some myths, you know, things that I have learned to not be true from the world of natural horsemanship. So I'm just going to ask you just to be open and see if you can newly see something in your herd that maybe you didn't see before because you were unable to see, like I shared about my Appaloosa paint horse, you know, just because you were. So I just ask you to remain open, and I would love to hear anything that comes up for you because, yeah, because I'm curious.
Okay, thank you.
Super cool, Dot. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and mute you. And is it Lila? I'm going to unmute you so I can hear from you. Hi, welcome.
My name is Lilia.
Lila, got it. Where in the world are you?
Can you listen? Yes, I'm from Brazil. I'm in the south of Brazil right now. Sorry if I sometimes speak English as a child because I'm not very fluent. But I used to ride horses since I was a child and as a teenager too. And then I quit for a long time. And I came back to the horse world, working with, I don't remember how to say that in English, but it's therapy with horses.
Yes.
Yeah. And then it happened that I got as a gift 4 horses, 4 mares.
Wow.
All at once. So I have them in my garden. They are grazing right now. And one of them gave me a foal. So I have 4 mares and a half.
Wow. Wow.
And you were talking about yoga. And I also practice yoga. And I started to join horses and yoga together.
Yes.
And it happens that my relationship with my horses is much more about my heart and my instinct and my, how can I say, my intuition than techniques.
Beautiful.
I had the technique of when I was a child, horse riding and jumping and everything, but it's much more than that. I do that with my heart.
It is so much more than that. Yeah, I love it. Now, are you guys social distancing?
Yes, we are.
Even in the south of Brazil. It's interesting as isolated as we are, we're connected by something so interesting.
Yes. Actually, I've since I came back to the horse world, I've been meeting so wonderful people. So it's not only the horse that I gained, but also good people coming together with that. I'm very glad.
Well, I'm very glad too. I'm very glad that you're here. Did you have a question that you wanted to ask? Might be frozen.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. You're on the other side of the world. Yeah, you're a little bit.
But it's okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. You're welcome. If you have a question, just wave at me and raise your hand and I'll see you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and mute you. And I think that's, I think that was everybody. So I want to share with you guys, it's actually, it's my latest podcast. It's not quite out yet, but I've been working on it for a few days and it's so timely to me. I'm excited that, because I've been lamenting that it's taken so long to get the next podcast out. And then it it really felt so real to me inside of this global pandemic that we're having. And it's letter H, actually. So my podcast is relationship-based horsemanship for the love of horses from A to Z. And so on the letter H, and the topic was always going to be herds and herd dynamics and herd mentality, and what it means to be a herd animal and herd health. So the whole idea of the dynamics of herds. And so it seems so fitting, you know, that as a species on the planet, we are now all concerned about herd health, and we are all social distancing for the health of the species on the planet, you know, so we can, as a species, live, you know, because you could see that this could wipe us out as a species. And so what I want to speak to you about really is what is the nature of a herd animal? What does it mean to be a herd animal? And in a few days, you can listen to the podcast. I'll make sure that it goes out in an email and that it gets posted all over the place. But the idea is that, as Leela knows, her little foal was lucky enough to be born into a herd of mares, and that's the natural way for it to go. A foal or a baby horse would be born into a family, and it would be a family sometimes by DNA, but it would also be a family by choice. And that's kind of what Allie was talking about with her mare and her pony, who were family by choice. And now she's together with a gelding, and they're fine, but you know, they probably wouldn't choose to be together if they had the opportunity to be with beings that they chose. So typically a foal will have aunts that they live with. They'll have cousins that they'll live with. They may have older siblings. They may be male or female, and there would be a dad. And sometimes in the natural world, so in a wild herd of horses, there might actually be more than one older adult male in the herd, depending on how big the herd is. Sometimes when the herd is very large, there is more than one older adult male or more than one stallion who helps to take care of the herd and keep the herd safe. But like I was saying to Allie, herds in the wild stay together based on want to. So they don't stay together because a mean stallion is being dominant and chasing off other suitors, or, you know, keeping his mares in line. A band stallion that is nice has a much bigger opportunity to keep his mares together because they want to stay together. They'll stay together while he manages things that are inside of his area of responsibility, instead of scattering. Because if he's not nice, if they don't want to be with him, when other suitors come, they'll just be absorbed in other bands. They might stay together and be absorbed in another band, but if they don't want to be together with him, they won't stay together. He will not be able to do that. And I learned this in a couple of different places. A lot of that comes from the Cloud series. So the Cloud series on nature, where Ginger Catherine's followed Cloud throughout his whole entire life, from birth to potential death. He hasn't been seen since 2017. So potentially he's gone now. And she's watched them year after year after year after year, you know, and lots of bands of horses on the Pryor Mountains out in Montana and in Wyoming and in Idaho and on all that Northwest area of the United States. But also Lucy Reese wrote a book called Horses in Company. And what she did, she wrote a book based on her observations. She's an ethologist, so she's an equine ethologist. And so what that means is somebody who studies the behavior of horses. And so Lucy put together, she bought all this land in Patagonia, and she put together these herds of horses. She turned out a stallion with some mares, 4 of them in separate places on this land. And so for years, she's now been watching these horses as they grow. And she has students come from all over the world who watch them. She does not interfere with them at all. They manage every bit of their life. Some die, some need veterinary care that they do not get. They live naturally. And so there's natural selection, there's natural birth, there's natural death, there's choice about who they're with and who they stay with. But in her book too, she speaks of not even being able to detect what we call a lead mare. So when you are watching the band of horses, you will not be able to detect who is the more dominant, who is the alpha, who is the lead horse. Because students come and they try to say, well, I think that one's the lead horse. And then the question is, well, why? And then what you discover is, well, that's the horse that always goes, she starts walking off and everybody finds her, everybody goes with her, and she ends up going to water. And then when you look at all the other circumstances around it, it turns out that she's always the one going to water first because she's a lactating mare and she has more need for water than the other horses. Or you find out that maybe it's a pregnant mare who's going to the water first, or the one who has the most need. And that is the way Lucy really explains it, that there's the horses that follow other horses do so because the horse that is in the lead or going first has the most need for whatever they're going to. And because they want to be together, they all go together. She also says that whenever there is any kind of an interaction that is dominant, that looks like dominance in between bands, because you rarely see it inside of the band itself, inside of the family band, whenever you see that, it's going to be over a limited resource. So she says in the years when there's lots and lots of rain and all the ponds are full, you never see them interacting in any kind of a dominant way. But when the droughts come and the water sources start to shrink up, you'll see that the bands take turns going to the water. They don't necessarily fight about it, but you'll see that the bands take turns going to the water. And then there could be a limited resource called a mare that everybody wants, right? It could be one female and other horses want her. So that could be a limited resource, in which case you would see physical interaction. You would see something that looks like fighting. But in the world of natural horsemanship, we learn really it's all based on the theory of dominance and hierarchy. It's all based on you have to be the leader, you have to show them who's boss, don't let them win, like you have to win these games. And when there's really nothing further from the truth as far as what is natural. Now, we can all observe our pastures, right? Our pastures where we have put together horses that are manufactured herds, and we can see dominance and hierarchy. We can say, oh yeah, that one's the lead horse, that one's the most dominant one, that one's the most submissive. But when we really start to look, you start to see that behavior, that dominant behavior, only comes out around limited resources. So the limited resources might be things like pastures that are too small. In the wild, like in Patagonia, their space is hundreds of thousands of acres. In the American West, there's hundreds of thousands of acres of land. There are no limited resources. There is an abundance of resources. You may not see horses that are grazing right next to each other because no one's watering the grass. They have to spread out to secure the resources that they need. But there's also no hay pile. So that becomes a limited resource. You'll see horses who will vie for position at a limited hay pile, or they might vie for position at a water trough, or they might vie for position at the gate, or the driest place in the shed, or they might vie for your attention. You might see that, I hear this all the time. People will say, oh, well, I'll go out to get my horse and this horse won't let me get my horse. He always pushes my horse away. He's the dominant horse in the pasture because you now are a limited resource. And you have to wonder, why does that horse consider you a limited resource? Is it because no one's coming to take him? Is it because he's worried that his friend is going to go away and there's limited friends? You know, like, starting to really look at this whole idea in a different way, rather than just a dominance and a hierarchy, like a pecking order. I assert that a horse's social order is far more complex and nuanced than a simple pecking order, than who moves whose feet. It is way more nuanced than that. And we want to look to see, you know, where do we come in that family band, in that herd dynamic. So horses aren't born naturally dominant, or horses aren't born naturally adversarial. Horses that are born, and Leela can see this, I'm sure, with her foal. Horses are born being sponges, and just like any little kid, they're going to be, you know, just like kittens and puppies, you know, baby horses, baby children, all babies practice the skills they're going to need for when they're adults, you know, running and bucking and rearing and playing, and, you know, playing tag. And, you know, one of your mares, Leela, might be crotchety and say, stop doing that to me. And some might say, come on, let's go play, right? They're all individuals. They all bring their own personalities to the herd. But what binds them, the glue that binds them, is that they want to be together. The nature of the herd animal is that they want to be together. And this is what gives us so much trouble when we have herd bound or pair bonded horses. So not only do they just want to be together, but then they find safety. Now I want to turn back the clock on humans. There was a day, you know, many years ago, where the only way humans actually survived was in a community. Because in a community was where we had all of the people who brought all of the wisdom that made a community thrive and grow. It allowed a community to have babies, care for babies in such a way that they grew up, they became teenagers, they become the adults, and then they become the elders in families. And they did that because they banded together. When you were alone, when you found yourself isolated, you were prey. You became someone who could potentially be injured or killed, eaten, whatever it was. And imagine that for your horse. In his DNA, he's a herd animal. He's a prey animal. All the convincing in the world isn't going to take that away. He's still going to be that. And that's why I felt like this was one of the most important things that I could actually share with you today. Because if we want the whole community to thrive and to live, we have to do our part. We have to do our part, not for us as the individual, but for the whole community, so the community lives. And if the community lives, so do we. So in a horse world, if you've ever tried to take your horse away from their herd or their herd mates, and this is what happens when in For the Love of Horses, and Callie, this is something that you're, you know, kind of experiencing a little bit. When we try to walk with our horses, and Kelly Bravado, who's not here, I must have lost her, she was out walking. Kelly was experiencing this too, where Kelly was trying to walk with her horse, but her horse was running around her in circles. She didn't even get to the end of the fence line. He was screaming and yelling, and he was afraid, and it was terrible. So I noticed Kelly's out walking by herself now because she wants to go out and get exercise while she has this time to do that. And she wants to take her horse, but her horse is losing his mind and it's dangerous to her. And she's not actually getting any walking in, you know? So what happens in that case is you have to do the work of helping your horse to know that you are safe and that you are one who's going to really help him to be safe. So he has to look at you in a whole different way. If you're taking him away from his herd, kicking and screaming, you're clearly not safe because you don't pay attention. You're clearly not paying attention to what it is that he needs. A horse would never do that to another horse. Now, in those family bands, when a father might feel like his son needs to leave the band and go find his own band, just like when we as parents feel that our children now need to leave, and our children feel that too, when that happens, they need a support structure, they need a community. So those bachelor stallions will all band together and they will all be safe together. They will have a friendship. They're not fighting with each other. You know, so we talk about not being able to have stallions with other horses. They're not fighting with each other the whole time. They're happy to be together. They're counting on each other to provide whatever is needed for safety, for their comfort, for their community. I want to move into another little piece of this, and that is what happens when we or they get isolated. So when we are separated, so it doesn't hardly happen now very often, but when we are isolated or separated from our herd, like we have cars now, so we can just go and get help. But you hear people now easily, like, because of this separation, their anxiety comes up. They're watching a lot of news. They're very afraid of this invisible, virus that's going to kill us. Their anxiety comes up, and what happens is hormones start to rage. Cortisol levels get out of whack, and that causes our immune systems to actually be more stressed. So in a time when we don't need our immune systems to be more stressed, that causes a problem, right? So we want to be able to be together and find times when we can make sure that we're together, just like this opportunity or any opportunity that we can create to be together. So our immune systems are not stressed. But think about that for the horses. Think about even with Allie's pony, when her mare died, she was mourning. And I know for myself, when I had my gelding who died, my mare called and called and called for him. She called for him for weeks. It was the saddest thing. It was truly heartbreaking. In that time, I could see her health declining because probably because her cortisol levels came up and they were higher, and they stressed her immune system, and she became more susceptible to being unwell. So like when you hear of pair bonded horses, like there's a farm near me, and they took in these two rescues, and they're very pair bonded, and the one rescue is very friendly, but the other one you can't even get near, you can't touch it. And so the suggestion, like, how do I help this horse, how do I fix this, the local trainer said, oh, you have to separate them. So these are rescue horses already. So we don't know what they've been through. That we know that they drive as a pair. They likely came from the Amish. And we know that they were in an auction. We don't know how long they had been there. There was a potential that they were both in foal. We don't know if they are or they aren't. So they've already left whatever home they knew, however good or bad that was. Fortunately, they stayed together through auction. They came to the rescue together. So they stayed together in the auction. They stayed together at the rescue. And now the trainer says we have to separate them. And the goal is just to take the friendly one away from the unfriendly one. And can you just imagine, right? Just based on what I just shared, like, how do you think that's going to go? I mean, they came in, they I think are freshly out of quarantine. So, which brings us to another whole dynamic here, right? So, we know that if you've been exposed to the virus, that you need to quarantine yourself, right, for an X number of days, so you don't infect the whole herd, the whole family, the whole community, your whole office, your whole town, your whole wherever you go, right? And it's the same way with these rescue horses. So quarantine is already stressful. So now they do that, and now they're going to separate these horses. And I can tell you the probable, almost certain future is, before you know it, if they don't already have ulcers and, you know, things like parasites, things that immune systems would heal, things like you'll find them, they're going to now have undigestion. You know, they'll have digestion problems because of the ulcers, because of the stress. Then we're going to start having vet bills, and then we're going to start needing to treat them with expensive pharmaceuticals. And then, of course, it's spring, so we'll need to get those spring shots, you know, and then there's going to be more insult to the immune system and the body of the horses. And we compounded it all by creating more stress by separating them, separating the nature of who is not, you know, what is born a herd animal, born into a herd, found a pair bond, wants to stay together. And instead of using that, instead of saying, you're going to be safe inside of this herd and you're going to learn to trust me and believe in me, we're going to separate them. And I don't know what they're going to do after that. I don't know what that's going to cause. Is that making sense, you guys? Like, can you understand that, you know, we are whole beings. You can't separate the mental from the physical from the emotional. You know, and so to the degree that we cause stress in ourselves or in our animals, in our herds, is the degree to which we remain healthy. And listen, I'm not saying that people who are not stressed don't get ill. I'm not saying that at all. But we can't, you know, there's something I like to say, and I use it in horsemanship, but I use it in other areas of life too, and that is, you know, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And, you know, you'll never know what you didn't get if you don't cause the stress. You know, like, well, like if we stay home and we socially isolate, right, we'll never know how bad it got or how bad it didn't get, because it didn't get that bad. You know, and then we'll say, oh, it wasn't that bad. Well, it wasn't that bad because we put an ounce of prevention in place. Does that make sense, you guys? Cool. So I just want to just conclude on this idea of the nature of a herd animal. And so you guys can think about, especially Leela, you know, at some point you'll want to wean your foal. And weaning can be the very first place in a horse's life where these cortisol levels rise and stress actually happens. Because it's, you know, we typically decide, we don't typically let the mare decide and the family decide. So inside of naturally weaning your horse, you want to make sure that both the mare and the foal have herds, that they both have something else to do, and that it's not cold turkey. They may need the closeness of each other. You know, we're all women here. I don't know if any of you have children, but a mom and a baby need to have body contact. They need to have close contact. If you don't have that, it creates stress in the very beginning of life that manifests in all sorts of ways. Martha, I know you're a mental health professional and I work in the mental health field. You know, the amount of stress that accumulates from families that don't touch, just that in the very beginning is gigantic. You know, it causes problems for the whole rest of your life unless you get the real, you know, some real good help. So rather than causing stress, we want to think about where is, if there is dominant or hierarchy type behavior, where is the limited resource? Where is the stress? So it could be, the limited resource could be a gate. You know, this is how you go in and out. This is where I go in to eat at night, and this is where I go out to play all day. So it could be a gate, could be a hay pile, it could be the best grass, it could be space that's too small, it could be friends, it could be you, it could be cookies, it could be, there is no limit to what could be causing the stress. You just want to be able to look at it from the lens of, if there's dominance and hierarchy, then there's probably limited resources and there's stress. And if there's stress, here's a fun fact. 84% of, so this is a veterinary statistic, 84% of backyard horses, not show horses, not race horses, not horses in stressful situations, have ulcers. And so we think, oh, they have a great life. You know, they get to come in and they go in their stalls and we put on their blankets and, you know, and listen, maybe that is a great life for them. You know, there are horses who are born into that life and that's where they find their comfort. I'm not saying that that is or is not a great life for them. What I am saying is if we see stress behaviors, if we see dominance or hierarchy behaviors, if we see vying for limited resources, we want to look to see where is the stress and what can we do to lessen the stress. And so this brings us kind of full circle, like back to this idea of walking with our horses. Like one of my favorite things to do is walk with horses. But I can't walk with my horse if my horse can't come with me, if he can't find safety and comfort with me, like he does with his herd. If he's only worrying about being back there with them or how fast can he get back there with them, or he's screaming, that's not going to be a productive kind of walking. So I have to do the work to prove to him that you can come with me and you can be safe. And so that might look like, and this is for, I think it's Kelly, who's not here, who's out walking by herself. But anybody, like it might look like it takes you 7 days to get your horse away from the other horses. You know, sometimes you can't even get your horse out of the pasture. You know, I have helped countless people. You know, they say, oh, I get him in the barn and he won't stand on the cross ties and it's very dangerous, you know, and I'm like, all right, I'll come over and help you. And I'll realize you can't even get your horse out of the pasture. Like that's where it starts. By the time you've gotten all the way to the barn, your horse has lost his mind. It's, you know, someone's going to be hurt here. And all this is, there's this big wrestling match, quit it, chain over the nose, the whole bit. You know, the ounce of prevention came back in the pasture. I was like, we need to start right here in the pasture. You know, I mean, I believed what she said. And so, you know, if I ever come to see you, and I'd love to come to Brazil, by the way, if I ever come to see you and, you know, I'm going to believe what you tell me. I'm going to believe that he's a lunatic in that barn. We're not going to, I don't need you to show me that. My goal is going to be to prevent that, to see where is he talking to us much sooner? Where is he saying, no, I can't do this? Is that why you can't catch your horse? You know, is that what's happening? If you can't catch your horse, you can't put the halter on, then that's where we start. It's not about catching your horse. It's about why doesn't he want to be caught? If he doesn't want his halter on, why not? You know, for animals who want to be together, the nature of them is that they want to be together. And by the way, I do believe that we can be what they want to be with. Like my experience with my herd is I can walk out at any time, put a halter and lead rope on any one of them and take them wherever I want, whether it's in the trailer alone, whether it's out around the fields, whether it's riding or walking or whatever we want to do. That can happen. It wasn't always that way. You know, there was a time I couldn't catch them. The change though happened in me when I started to really begin to understand the nature of the herd animal. You begin to have empathy for them instead of realizing that you have an hour and this is your agenda and your time clock and you own his papers and you just want to ride. You just want to get on and go for a ride just like the other people do. I don't want to do all this other stuff. You got the wrong horse then. Because this horse needs more than that. This horse needs a relationship. This horse needs you to relate to him in a way that you're not. And I'm not saying that I have the answer. All I'm saying is whatever you're doing is not working. So let's try this whole litany of other things to see, well, what does work? Does it work for a step? Literally, sometimes it's one step. Can we do that? One step forward, 2 steps back. And your horse is like, what? Is that all we're doing? You're like, yeah, isn't this the best thing ever? Using that, putting the cape on your emotions and using your superpower of positive reinforcement. Yes, you're an amazing being. And he's like, really? Okay. I'm going to go a couple more steps. And then before you know it, you've got 4 steps forward and just 2 steps back. And your horse is like, okay, this is good. You're not going to like make me do it. And he's like, oh, I have to eat grass. And then he's shocked because you're not fighting with him. You know, put the time in, and I promise you, before you know it, he's going to be going with you. But it's not only time, it's who you're being. It's who you're being about it. Are you being someone who listens? Are you being someone who understands? Are you being somebody who has clarity about what's okay with you and what's not okay with you? Not because there's somebody else's rules, but what's okay in this herd. Because that's what herds do. Like, I get the great opportunity to go around to different farms, and I go to boarding farms, but I also go to private farms. And it's funny because you can walk onto different farms and you can feel that, oh man, there's so much congruency here. This is such a calm place. There's so much harmony here. And you can go to barns where every horse is on edge and you're just like, wow, this is awful. And so we are part of creating that. Our horses are part of creating that. So the question then becomes is, do you want to be part of the herd, or do you want to be apart from the herd? Do you want to have the rules that say it has to be my way and be that dominant person all the time? You must do this, you must do that, and if you don't, I'm going to hit you. You know, there's going to be pain involved, either a chain over the nose or, you know, hitting them with a stick and string or whatever it is. So, yeah. Anybody have any thoughts or any questions you want to share for that? I see that there's some chat happening, which is exciting to me. Is that a question, Martha? What do I do when a boarder comes and removes her horse from the field to ride, leaving the other one very distressed? Yeah. What do you do? Go ahead and unmute yourself, Martha. What do you do?
I tried a few things. I've tried going and being with her. It's my older mare, Molly, that is the one that's left. I've brought her hay. I've gone and just sat on her fence and talked to her, which does work. And now lately I'm bringing in another horse to keep her company when that one's gone.
So she lives in a herd of two?
Yes, so it's just the two of them there.
Is there any possibility to have her live in a herd of three?
Yes, if I can convince people that their horse will be fine.
So there you go.
Yeah, you're dealing with personalities. And, you know, people think their horse needs private turnout. I have another herd of two that I want to add a third to, but one of the horses has shoes.
Yeah. The nature of the horse is that they want to be together. And the nature of the human is that they want clean horses. They want to wrap them all up in blankets and have them have special care. Horses like to be dirty. They like to be with other horses. You know.
I yelled at yesterday. I took someone's horse. She said, could you give her some private turnout? She's never been in a field. She hasn't been in a field in 6 months from an injury. And she said, ace her and put her out for an hour. I was like, okay, you're the boss. And I aced her and I put her out. And that horse was so happy. She came in covered in mud. I was so excited. I took a picture. I said, look how happy your horse is. And she said, oh my God, you didn't put a sheet on her. And I was like, oh, you're missing the point. You know, there's nothing I can do about some of that, except just continue to assert myself. And if you don't like it, go to a different barn. I mean, is that?
Well, you know, you're in a difficult situation, Martha, because you only have so much power over other horses. But you do have your own horses. And is there a reason why your own horses are not together? It's just because your boy can't be turned out?
Correct. He can't be turned out. Correct. 4 of them are pretty much under my control. One of them that can't be turned out.
So you have other horses that you could put with your mare?
I could.
Yeah, because that's what I would say. I would say, you know,
the one with shoes alone.
Well, to keep your herd, well, first enough, the space has to be big enough.
Yes.
you know, because you want to give them plenty of room. You don't want anybody getting cornered, or you don't want them fighting for a limited space. You don't want them fighting over the gate or whatever it is.
Right.
So there's that. And in a boarding situation, but you own the farm, you know, obviously you could change the way you do everything, or you could just have your own space for your own horses and let, you know, do whatever it is the boarders want you to do.
Good idea. Mm-hmm.
You know, I know there's a farm in the Wisconsin, I believe. It's called the Horse First Farm. And it was built with the idea of track systems and no isolation, big loafing sheds, or multiple track systems at this boarding farm. It's a boarding farm. They have a big indoor arena, but there are no individual stalls. They have a barn where there are tie hooks on the wall where you can come in if you want to groom your horse, and they're all over the walls, but there's no individual stalls. And it's a boarding facility, you know, and they set it up that way. They set it up so the horses could live in a more natural way. They believed, they knew what to do. They believed in the horses. And, you know, I mean, that's not the way we do it here in New Jersey. You would be unique if you did such a thing here. But you have to learn about it, and you have to believe in it, and you have to trust it. And then you set it up, and and people come there. They have a waiting list for people to come there because they want that for their horses. So, you know.
Kind of, I mean, you came out, you remember, and even though I have all the fields, I put gates on every field. They're all attached. And that was my dream, to just open those gates and let them have the whole place.
Isn't it All Dreams Farm?
Yes. Yeah.
So what's happening to your dream?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's yours. And, you know, I think in this time that we're living through, I have hope that, first of all, let me just say, the world would not have decimated their economies on purpose. The world would never have done that. But now we've done that. You know, everything is shut down. And it's not just going to come roaring back like it was. It's not. I mean, we don't know what this pandemic is going to do. And my hope is that we come back in a different way, that we come back in a way that's sustainable for life on the planet. Instead of going in the way we've always gone, that we go some other way. So in this time of change, you know, maybe there's something for you to do.
Yeah, I like that.
I mean, maybe there is, you know, I'm happy to support you in that idea, you know, but maybe there's something for you to do.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah. Cool, Martha. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mute you. And then there's if you had seen them when they came, they would kick and bite for anything. Yeah, I feel now they trust me and they're comfortable with, yeah, I agree with you, Leela, is they were vying for limited resources, and, you know, they were not well. And when they have everything that they need, they certainly are different. There's no question about it. You know, when they have everything they need, it's a different situation. Any other, Dot, any, I just want to give you an opportunity, because I might have trashed natural horsemanship a bit there. Just want to give you an opportunity to say anything you need to say. I'll go ahead and unmute you. There you go. You there, Dot?
I don't think I have anything, but thank you.
Okay, perfect. Are you mad at me?
Oh, no, I'm just trying to listen to you and work at the same time.
Okay, all right, good, no worries. Because, you know, I want to just say to you and to anybody who loves the world of natural horsemanship, you know, I came up in that world as well. And I believe with all my heart that what we call now, or what I call now, relationship-based horsemanship is the next evolution of natural horsemanship. I think natural horsemanship was an evolution of what came before it. And I think this is the next evolution. And I hope it is. I hope it's an evolution where people will give the horse more of a chance, and put away those giant sticks and strings and stop hitting them and stop disengaging their hindquarters and stop making robots. Stop making robots out of horses. Because I did that, you know, and I'm grateful for my education, and I won't ever do it again. And partly just because, you know, I sometimes, you know, we have to make mistakes to learn from them. And so, you know, I just encourage you to continue to evolve and don't get stuck in that one way is the only way. And thanks for being here.
I have evolved, definitely. Like I know a lot of people from that program have evolved. You, I guess you take what you learn in that program and then morph it in your own way that suits you, like you've done. You find that there is maybe a better way or a better way that works for you in your own particular horsemanship style.
Yeah. And that's what Pat always said. He always said that. He said, you know, get your foundation and then go do whatever you want with it. But I think people don't do that anymore. I think people do, but I think there's a lot of people that don't. I think they get stuck in staying in that program and they never go out and do their own thing with it.
Yeah, I think there's both. I think there's a lot of clinicians out there that, I mean, some big professionals that we probably both know of that started out under Pat many years ago.
Yep.
Who now have put a twist on it and do their own thing.
Or they didn't put a twist on it. They just
or they're still, you know, they're now the 4- and 5-star professionals that are still kind of stuck under his wing, smelling his armpit all the time.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's been a long time for me since I've been around them, but I'm grateful for my education and I'm grateful for where I am today. So thanks, Dot. I just want to check in with you.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, you guys, that's all I have for today. I'm gonna, this is a recording, and so I'll post it probably in the Facebook group or somewhere for people to enjoy again. It'll stay there for maybe just a couple of weeks or something. I'd love to stay in touch with you all. Please reach out. Email is always the best way, you know, because then I can answer it in my own time, which could be the middle of the night. I just appreciate your being here. I appreciate connecting, and I will reach out again, and we'll do our little Hollywood squares again, and be able to see each other and connect in that way. And I just, you know, some words of encouragement moving on. And this is something I say at the end of all of my, I call it Flow 12, my For the Love of Horses 12-week online coaching program. Every Thursday night when we end our Q&A, I say this to people, and I'm going to say it to you, because anytime you try to incorporate a new concept into your thinking, anytime you try to incorporate a new piece of a concept, a new learning, a new twist on a concept, sharing it, either writing about it, telling someone about it, somehow sharing it allows you to articulate it and work through the nuance of it so others understand it. And it's not for them to understand, it's for you to broaden and really just widen your understanding or knowledge of a particular concept or a larger concept, whatever it is. But anytime that you can share it with an intention that they understand, like get every question they have answered from your perspective on a concept, it's going to help you to understand it better. It's going to help you to maybe brainstorm or troubleshoot in a new way. But if you just leave it ruminate around in your own head and it never leaves there, then that's where it's going to stay. You know, you won't get other feedback. You'll only get your own. And in the words of Madonna, stay out of your head. It's a bad neighborhood in there. You know, you don't want to just be all up in there, just you know, having it ruminate around. So just share with people, because it's especially now, and you can always share with me if you don't, you know, but you can go into the relationship-based horsemanship group and share in there. You won't get attacked, I promise you. And if you do get attacked for any reason, I will use the power of booting people out of that group because I have that power. I've never had to do it. And so I don't expect that you will. People are there because they want better relationships. And so I invite you all to participate in that as well. So I'm going to say goodbye to everyone. I'm going to unmute you all. I'm going to unmute all so you can all say goodbye. Oh, wait, I thought I unmuted all. Allow participants to unmute themselves. No, stop. Here. Unmute all. All right, we're all unmuted, so we can say goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye.
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 Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.